episodes. And I always love to start, like I always say, let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. It's always fun to see where merchants are drop shipping from in the world, since you really can drop ship worldwide. So let us know in the chat to get started. And I'll give you a quick rundown of the show for anyone who's brand new and hasn't joined us in the past. Real Talk is just a show where we talk about anything on ways to optimize your business, whether that's marketing tips, productivity advice, whatever it might be. Each week is ever changing. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully you gain a lot of great value from the different shows that we do. Before we hop into it, Matt, why don't you give us a little intro to who you are? Just for those of you who are brand new and haven't joined us in a past show, let us know a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm an Oberlo support advisor. I've been with Oberlo for about 5 months now. I've worked with Shopify for 1.5 years. I help merchants start their businesses. I also have my own dropshipping store, so that's kind of like how I came to Shopify. And I started my dropshipping store because I have Instagram meme accounts, and that's kind of like how I learned the whole entire platform and how to grow on the platform as well. So that's my experience, and I'll pass it back to you, Carissa.
Awesome. And sorry if there's a little bit of a delay too, if you hear that there's a couple seconds between Matt and I for some reason. There's always some kind of a delay or issue, but hopefully it's not too bad watching it. But a little bit about me. I've been with Shopify and Oberlo for just over 5 years now. So I've definitely seen a lot of different stores, seen how they've been successful, different tips and techniques they've tried. So yeah, I'm just here to share all of that with you who are joining us today. So as a quick little outline of the show, just so you know what to expect, we're going to go over the topic for today, which is how to establish trust with your customers. So a very, very, very important part to the process of customer acquisition, and also just getting continued customer support from those who have ordered in the past. So yeah, I'm really excited about today's topic to chat about how to establish trust. After that, we always go into a hot tip and a toolbox section. So these are marketing resources, success stories, maybe podcast app, whatever we've been loving lately that we want to share with you all. So we'll finish the show off with that. And just as a reminder, as always, ask any questions you like in the chat there. We'll be keeping an eye on those as well too, and we'll try to answer if we can. If not, leave suggestions there as well too. Maybe we'll do some future shows on some topics that are coming up. And last reminder, this is recorded, so you can always go back and watch the show later. So no stress about taking notes and having to, do that quickly while the show's live. You can always go back and rewatch it later. So as I mentioned, today's topic is how to establish trust. Super important part of running any kind of business, whether it's drop shipping or not drop shipping. You really do want to initially establish trust with your customers in order to get sales, right? So most customers will, not to say like judge a book by its cover, but usually in those initial few seconds, that's where you either could win or lose a customer too. So it's really important to think about this, especially with a website, where it's not like they have the chance to walk into a physical store location and take a look around. It's quickly like click in, click out. So you sometimes just have that split second impression to get them to continue shopping on your store. And I want to break today's topic into 3 different sections. So first we're going to go into theme design, which is kind of that initial split second look at your store. And then we're going to go into support, and then lastly to community building. So those are the 3 areas we're going to dive into. So yeah, without further ado, Matt, why don't we hop right into theme design, and you give us your first tip for theme design.
Awesome, thank you so much. And hey, Smart Hero, how's New York doing? Hope it's beautiful there today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is your theme design. So make sure that you complete your theme. So one common issue that I see all the time is having an incomplete theme, whether that means having like default text still in certain sections or just incomplete sections entirely with no information filled out. You always want to ensure that your theme is complete before launching. So this can easily drive customers away from buying at your store if they see like missing sections of your store. Think about like going into a brick and mortar store. You walk in and they have like an entire section that's completely like empty, right? It looks bad. So creating trust is essential, and a page that is incomplete demonstrates a lack of effort, which can erode trust quickly. So again, you want to make sure that you're putting your best self out there. You want to get across to your customers that you're professional and that it's not a scam, so that they trust and they want to buy from your website. So yeah, that would be what I would suggest, and I'll pass it back to you, Carissa.
Awesome. Yeah, such a huge thing. And it's funny, like, how many stores don't realize they might have some default text or missing information in their theme. So just get someone to double check it. Get a second pair of eyes, because sometimes it's actually easy to miss, like, oh shoot, I didn't realize I didn't fill out the newsletter part in the bottom of my site or whatever it is. And also looks like you got a shout out about one of the apps you suggested last time. So that's awesome, Alexander. I'm glad you really liked the app that Matt suggested. That's great. So yeah, first thing, like you mentioned, was having your theme complete. The next thing is making sure you have all the required pages. And hopefully you all can see the slides down below. We're trying a new thing where we're adding like a little PowerPoint at the bottom. So hopefully you can all see that. But yeah, it's really important to make sure you have all of the basic pages that are going to establish trust with your customers. So this includes things like a contact us page, FAQ, shipping, about us, a tracking page, like that app. So it's just really important that you do have all these initial pages, because if the customer doesn't feel that they have all of their questions answered, whether it is about shipping or just general return policies, or just being able to contact you quickly, that could be a reason that they could initially leave, like, pretty much right away. So you want to make sure that they feel comfortable knowing the whole process of your store. So make sure you do have all of those required pages. And I think, yeah, that's kind of just the basics about having those required pages I wanted to mention. So I'll hand off number 3 to you, Matt.
Absolutely. So I definitely agree with you on that. Like, having those pages are incredibly important. And that kind of leads into the next section, which is the navigation. So that would be like your menu at the top and the footer at the bottom. You want to make sure that your navigation, is organized in an easy to follow way. So you want to make sure that it's very clear what the different sections are and where they lead to. This, you want to include all the pages a customer would want to see, as Carissa had mentioned above. So the contact page, the fact page, the shipping page, about us, and tracking. So if you have a well-organized header menu with products or collections and drop-downs as well, it helps. So instead of having like every single product at the top, make a drop-down menu with, if you're selling t-shirts, you could have t-shirts and then men's t-shirts, women's t-shirts, that sort of thing. And it'll help your customer find what they're looking for easier, and they won't have to go searching around your website. A lot of times, like I've said before, customers are in transitionary periods, so they're in lineup at a mall or something like that, and they only have a few seconds to make that purchase. So it's really good to sort of make it as easy as possible for them. Another thing that you can do is you can put a home button at the top. So if you only sell one product, they get taken away from the main homepage, which has a lot of other information. You'd want to have a homepage button at the top to get them back to that. So the other thing you can do is have this stuff in the footer. So if you have a whole bunch of different menu items at the top, you don't want it to be cluttered, you can just put it at the bottom in your footer as well. So that would be the same sort of thing, all the policy pages. And if you don't know how to write those policy pages, Shopify can actually auto-generate them for you. So we actually have a link that we can include as well for that. And I will pass it back over to you, Carissa.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's so important. Just make the process as easy as possible to navigate your site, because that can easily, you can easily lose customers quite quickly for that. So number 4 is design. So yeah, just when it comes to design in general, you want to make sure your site is well designed. You have really great slideshow images. Make sure all your images are cropped properly. Make sure there's no pixelated images. Just ensure everything is really cohesive and consistent throughout your site. Because yeah, a poorly designed theme can definitely be a reason that a customer might leave and not trust the site just based on the way that it looks. So yeah, just super important to have a consistent design throughout, whether it's product pages, your homepage, about us pages. So yeah, it was just a quick and easy one, but make sure your design looks great. And you can always reach out to us too on the support team if you ever want suggestions on if something should be changed, or something doesn't look right, definitely reach out to us and we can always take a look and let you know. So I'll pass it back on to you for number 5.
All right. So this one's pretty obvious. It's spelling. You don't want to have any sort of spelling mistakes or anything like that. It's kind of hard sometimes, especially when you're just starting out. You want to make sure that you have all the elements in play. And sometimes the little small things like small pieces of homepage text or product listing might have an error in it. So just make sure that you don't have any spelling mistakes. They can really discredit your site and kind of take away from the overall professionalism. There's one really cool online spell checker that you can just plug a website into, and it'll check all the text on it and see if it's correct. So I would suggest using that if you're not using like a program like Grammarly or something like that to check your stuff. And we'll put a link to that in chat, and I'll pass it back over to you, Carissa, for number 6.
Awesome. And also, I'm pretty sure I heard a story of, we might even have a blog post about it, but a merchant who was selling a certain product. It was doing quite well. And then they noticed like a decline of sales, and they weren't sure what was going on. And it was literally just one spelling mistake in their product description. That one spelling mistake, as soon as they changed it, sales went right back up. So it does seem like a small thing, but it's a really, really important thing. Because if you're about to buy and then you're reading and you notice a spelling mistake, you kind of instantly are like, is this a legitimate store? Is it not? So you want to just remove any of those possibilities of them not establishing trust. So definitely get a second pair of eyes or use a website like that. That helps a lot. So the next one is having an About Us page. It's always something I love to say to make sure you do include, just talking a little bit about your store. So one mistake I sometimes see is merchants doing an About Us page, which is about the person running the store. And not to say you can't talk about that, but you want to really more talk about your brand and who you are as a company, which very well might tie into who you are as a person also. Maybe why you created this store, but you essentially want to create the sense of what your brand is all about, and you want people to also feel like they connect with that same story or that same community, that same idea. So just think about it that way when you're writing an About Us page. Is you want something that the customers feel like they can connect and align with. They don't necessarily want to hear about you and your life story, which I'm sure is very interesting, but just from the customer's perspective, you want something that they're going to be able to connect with. And if your story, your personal story fits really well into that, then for sure. Like, for example, there was this really great About Us page I saw of a makeup company. They had started this like skin line product to help, and she had talked all about her journey with skincare. And the issues she had, and she'd like went to all these doctors to go and get this thing tested and found out this one product is the one thing that worked. So in that case, a personal story is very, very relevant to add into the About Us page, because it shows the struggles that she went through and the problem that it solves, and hopefully solves for everybody else in their community. Have a really good About Us page. That'll help establish trust and give customers a way to feel like they connect with you and your brand. So I'll pass it back to you for number 7 under theme design section.
Sounds good. All right. So the next section is going to be domain. So having like a custom domain. It's part of a branding strategy. It's an overall branding strategy. You want to make sure that you're representing your brand as best you possibly can. Again, trying to be as professional as you can. You want to have a branded domain. So you're not just using the regular .myshopify domain that you get when you register your store. So the good thing about Shopify is you can actually register your domain right inside of Shopify. And the other good thing is that if you are planning to do this long term, you can pay for your entire yearly subscription upfront with Shopify, and it gives you a couple perks. You can do either carrier calculated shipping, which isn't going to apply to you because you're drop shipping, or you can get your annual domain subscription free. Essentially, they'll credit it for you. So that's one good thing. You get a free online domain if you register for the year. So if you're one of those types of people that's trying to start out with not a huge budget, One thing to remember is you are going to be paying for your monthly subscription no matter what. So it might be worth it for you to invest and sort of put money down into that annual subscription and get that free domain. So you can check it out under online store domains in your Shopify store. So just right over on the left-hand side, online store, and then domains. And yeah, definitely get yourself one of those customized domains so it can mask over your .myshopify.com domain. You also get some branded emails with that as well. So you can do email forwarding and have like a branded email to reply to your customers with, or sorry, send customers. You can't actually reply with it. And I'll pass it back to you, Carissa.
That's awesome. I honestly didn't even know that they changed that to do the free domain if you sign up for annual. So that's super cool. It's definitely worth it, and something you're going to want no matter what. If you're running a business, like you mentioned, it's really going to establish trust and make you look legitimate and well established if you have your own domain. So that's great. And I also see something in the chat. Aurelia, hopefully I pronounced that right, said, oh, where was it? Yeah, saying you got your first 12 sales. That's amazing. Congratulations on those first 12 sales. That's always so exciting just to get that ball rolling and see things going. So yay, that's so exciting. I'm so excited for you. So number 8 is product titles and descriptions. It's always really, really important to customize your titles and descriptions and your images on your listing just so that they do, for one, they are cohesive with your brand and with your store and with the overall like feel of the store you're starting. But also a lot of the titles and descriptions that come from AliExpress and the suppliers, the titles are super, super long. And the descriptions are very, very basic. It's more just like product information, like stats and details. So really try and either narrow down that title just so it's descriptive enough, like the example there, like men's storm cloud insulated waterproof jacket. So that gives like a decently short but very descriptive title versus something that's way too long or something that's not descriptive enough, just like the word jacket. So find that nice balance of having a good title. Description wise, I always recommend trying to see if there's a way you can incorporate problem solving. So in our past episode, we talked about this on how to figure out what the problem is you are solving, but definitely approach it in a way of thinking from the customer's perspective. How is this product going to help their life and why is it they maybe need it? And then find a fun way to write it. So yeah, definitely adjust those. And along with that too, like I mentioned, having your own product images is always great as well too. So kind of goes hand in hand with titles and descriptions. You know, if you do order products yourself to your own location, it gives you a chance to check the quality of the item, get a good idea of the shipping, know the whole process from the supplier, and then at that point also take your own product images and photography, which is unique to you and your brand. And you can even use those images for marketing. You can ship those products out to influencers after. There's lots of great benefits to ordering your products and just having them there. And one of them, like I mentioned, is being able to take your own photos. So yeah, that's number 8. Matt, I'll pass you on to number 9 for under that same section of how to design your theme.
Beautiful, thanks. So the next section is product reviews. So one way to establish trust is to have product reviews. It takes away from them having to put full faith in your store and product, which you naturally will have a bias towards. So obviously, if you're selling something, you think it's great, but having that transmit over into the customer is another thing. So it shifts the perspective onto the customers for the customers to like them and to see what they thought of the product. So it gives kind of like a real world example of somebody else that isn't the person selling it saying like, hey, yeah, this is a good product. And even better if you can get a review system which allows customers to post products as well. Most apps that can add reviews cost money, but I find that Revify is like the best free one that you can get. So we'll try and include a link to Revify as well, but you can just sort of search for it in the App Store. So get some product reviews on there for your products, and it'll kind of help give you some social proof. And I'll pass it back to you, Carissa, for number 10.
Awesome. I know personally, I always look at reviews, especially if there's ones with images where I can see how it actually looks. Especially if you're buying clothing, things like that. It's always nice to see how it actually looks on other people. So that's huge. Yeah, definitely have reviews because it's such an important part. And also, I just saw Ross in our chat had mentioned that you've been looking at drop shipping since 2019 and trying to get things figured out. So that's super exciting that you're thinking about using Oberlo. Definitely check out the Oberlo 101 course. That's free. I just wanted to quickly mention that because that covers everything about how to get started with Oberlo, and anyone else who maybe is brand new to drop shipping. Our free 101 course is really, really great. So sorry not to get off topic, but just wanted to mention that. So I know there's a lot of information out there, so that can be the great way to get started. Okay, last point under this topic is order tracking pages. So again, another way to establish trust is just essentially letting the customer know, hey, once you place an order, you're going to be able to track your order at any time. It's right here. Here's the page. So that's one of the great things about having an order tracking page added to your site, is it again takes away from that worry of, okay, once I order, am I going to get a tracking code? How am I going to be able to track this package? Especially for longer shipping times, like most drop shippers have to go through. Having that tracking page can really create a sense of, I guess, relief in a sense for the customer, and hopefully as well takes away from some of maybe the customer reach outs and complaints, because they can just simply track their order on their own. And like Matt had mentioned last time, that Tractor app, right? That's the one that you would use probably for tracking pages. Yeah, that's a great one. So we'll link that in the chat as well again too, for any of you who haven't checked it out. That's a great way to add on that built-in page to your site. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop into the next section. These next two sections will definitely go by a little bit quicker, but I really think they're important topics to cover. So let's go over fast support, which is the next topic, and you can get started.
Absolutely. So you want to have chat support. So like that's the messenger sales channel. You can have chat bots and that kind of stuff. You can use Shopify chat, which is entirely free to install. It integrates with Shopify Ping, so you can install that right onto your desktop or your mobile device, and you can get messages directly from your customers. So you can have like open hours, 9 to 5 or something like that, where you're answering questions if customers have it. That really helps, because if they have a question that they can't get answered, they're not going to go searching for it. They're probably just going to leave. But if they see that they can contact you and just ask you, like, hey, how long does it take to ship to Canada or something like that, right? That will really drive that engagement, because they're going to feel a little bit more like locked into buying from you, like sort of thing. It's a weird subconscious thing, but generally they will buy from you if they ask you a question, or they might not do it right then and there, but they'll come back. So having a live person to chat with will really help, especially with customer service. So and I'll pass it back to you, Carissa, for number 2.
Awesome. I know I always use chat support if I'm thinking about buying a certain product on a website, and if there's live chat, I'm always chatting with them, asking just a couple more questions. For sure, that's a huge way to establish trust, and it's a great way to show your personality of your brand and what kind of great customer support you offer, which can be a huge piece of just initiating that sales. So yeah, it's a great way to do it, and having the messenger one lets you see it right away if you have like a smartphone or you're on your computer or whatever. So nice and easy. My next, I guess the last one under that section, is just making sure, similar to having a domain name, is you want to have a custom email address as well too. So, I don't recommend having like a gmail.com email address that you use for your business, because again, that's going to make you seem like you're not well established yet. So have a custom email address. And you can use, I think you can do this through like G Suite, Zoho, Workspace Google Workspace actually might be G Suite. I'm not sure, it might be the same thing, but either way, there's a few different ways you can do it for really cheap. And it's definitely worth it. Worst case, if you have a custom domain, you can set up email forwarding. So under the domain section in Shopify, there's an option to say like, okay, if somebody contacts sales@storename.com, it's going to send to my Gmail address. The only problem is if you reply back to the customer, they're going to see your Gmail one. So, it's okay for like initial reach outs, but yeah, I definitely would recommend, if you can, get a custom email. Worst case, like I mentioned, set up email forwarding so they can still contact an email that looks like it's from your store. So yeah, super important. Let's hop into the next section just before we wrap up and go into the next, the hot tip and and toolbox section, let's chat about community, because I think that's the last really important thing to talk about when it does come to creating, establishing, and continuing that community support with your brands. So yeah, I'll let you do the first one there, and then I'll hop into the second tip.
Cool, thanks. So this is creating a social media presence. So having an Instagram account or TikTok account. I saw somebody in chat was mentioning that TikTok is banned in your country. That's really unfortunate. TikTok does really well right now. So maybe there's another way that you can get your audience to an audience, and that would be through Instagram or even Pinterest or something like that. So for instance, if you have a general niche, it's, you know, you could just create an account in the same niche. So if you're selling pet products, for instance, you could start a pet account that sort of reposts other cute pets. Obviously, give the original poster credit, and you can grow a following there. And then you can use that following to promote your products. So instead of just having all cute pets, every once in a while, you would post one of your own products that you sell, and it sort of like integrates with it. The other thing you can do is you can actually use that account to give shout outs to other influencers in the pet niche in exchange for promotion of your products. So it's kind of like a cyclical type thing where you're reaching out to other influencers and giving them shout outs to grow their following. And then they're also promoting your products and kind of getting your name out there. And you can see, you know, companies like Fashion Nova, for instance, did this. They had a whole bunch of different influencers and had their name get out that way, and it was word of mouth. And if you do that enough, you're gonna it's exponential. It just grows and grows and grows. So one thing that you can do for that, you can also just create an Instagram account for your store that's like an online social presence where customers can contact you and stuff like that. But just another sort of idea for you is to create an alternate niche account as well to help promote your store. And I'll pass it back to you, Carissa.
Yeah, I love that. I love thinking about ways of creating social media. Maybe that's not directly related to your store, but showcases your product. So that's great. And I also think too, just on a separate note of social media, tying into one of our previous ones where we mentioned product reviews. A lot of times, as a shopper, I'll instantly go to a store's Instagram account to actually look at product reviews in a sense. Like I go to their tagged section and I see how that product looks on people maybe that have tagged it. So definitely make sure you have a social media account make sure you have a social media account for your store, because if you know someone's shopping and even if your website looks great, but then they click on your social media pages and there's like nothing posted or no information, that can definitely cause people to leave and not establish that trust. So just something to think about. And don't feel overwhelmed with having to go with every single social media platform too. I think that's a huge thing, is sometimes merchants think they need to have Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, like everything. I would say just pick the few that you think relate really well to your brand and do them really well, and don't kind of have half-done pages that are, but covering all of the social media platforms. So just choose a few that you think you can do really well and keep up with. And yeah, that would be my tip too for social media. But the last thing I wanted to mention under building a community is blog posts. So a really great way to establish trust is actually just having these blog posts and articles where maybe you talk about a topic that's related to products in your store. And sometimes every once in a while in those blog posts, you can showcase a product that you have. But it's just a great way to connect with your audience and maybe have them learn a little bit more about your field that you're selling in, whether it's like health and wellness or whatever it might be. So you're selling like active clothing, where maybe you actually do articles on different workouts that you can do, different things you can try. So it doesn't have to always just be like blog posts about a product. It can be about the topics in general. And again, it's a great way to establish and create a community. So again, yeah, it can really apply to any topic, which is really great. And I think that's all I was really going to mention for blog posts. Yeah, look into that. It's a great way. Oh, and yes, this was the last thing. I was like, I know there's one more thing I wanted to mention with blog posts. Really great for SEO. So just having all that content is really great for building your SEO as well on your site. So just something to keep in mind as well. So even if nobody reads your blog post in the beginning, it's either way, it's establishing SEO on your site and hopefully actually brings in people Plus, you can also even post these blog posts on like Pinterest or something too. If somebody's looking for hacks to do X, Y, and Z, or optimizing your workspace and you sell, I don't know, like workspace equipment, it could be actually a great way to generate leads into your site. So yeah, lots of great things with blog posts. All right, so that's all of our tips for how to establish trust. There's obviously many more things you can do, but those are some of the basics of how to do it, whether it's design, support, or building that community. Let us know in the chat too if you have any other suggestions. I'd love to know how you all establish trust with your customers. Such an important part. Let's hop into the next two sections just as we wrap up, which is the hot tip and toolbox. So my hot tip is if you're having a hard time knowing if everything looks proper on your site, if you do have everything set up, if your site actually does look well established, especially if you're, just getting started, my recommendation is looking at other websites for inspiration. Now, you don't want to just copy another website, of course, but look at some really well-established websites, see what they have in terms of what pages do they have? What kind of blog posts are they writing? How does their social media look? How does their design and their website look? How's the process of adding a product and getting to the cart? Just get a really good feel for how these really well-established brands are doing it. And that can be a really great way to just get some ideas of what you might be missing as well. And of course, too, you can always chat with our support team. We're always happy to take a look at your site and give you optimization tips. So don't feel like you can only reach out to us just for support and our technical support. We're always happy to give you suggestions on ways you can improve your site or optimize the whole process. So that was my hot tip. And what's your hot tip, Matt, before we hop into the next section?
Cool. Yeah. So if you're like me, when you're just starting out, you like to look at things holistically. So like as like a complete sort of front to start to finish sort of thing, what you need. We have something, the Shopify checklist that we like to suggest for people that are just starting out. Gives you like an overview of everything and everything that you need to sort of before you launch. So something to check out as well if you're just starting out. And even if you're not, like maybe just have a review, make sure you have all those things on there as well.
Awesome. Yeah, just great to make sure you have all those basics because, again, people leave in a split second. So make sure you have all those basics covered. For the toolbox section, this could be like an app or podcast or whatever it is. Maybe we've been loving that we want to suggest to you. So it's an app that I really love called Hotjar. And there's a few different apps actually that do this. You don't have to use Hotjar. I can't remember the names. Lucky Orange is another one. I can't remember. What's the name of that app, Matt, that has like 26 different features in it? Do you know the name of it?
Vitals.
It has like
Vitals.
Product review. Vitals. Yeah, Vitals also does it. So there's a few apps that do this, but essentially it's an app that allows you to track customer behavior. So what it actually does is it takes a screen recording of your website and you can literally see where a customer's mouse is going, clicking on your website, where they stay, where they leave. This can be a really great way to see if there's certain areas that customers are getting stuck at on your website, if there's certain areas that customers just straight up leave your website. Maybe they feel confused. So that can give you some really great insight on what about the process is not optimized on your website and, maybe help to optimize it a little bit more. So that was my my toolbox tip. And Matt, what's yours?
So there's an app that you can download. It's called Gem Pages. It's a page builder. It costs money, but it's really good for like designing your theme. It gives you a little bit more control over things and being able to design the actual theme itself. So you don't have to pay for somebody to edit your theme and design it the way that you want it. So it's a good app. It does cost money, but it's worth it in my opinion, especially when you're just starting out.
Awesome. I love it. I'll have to check out that app for sure. So yeah, that's everything for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Leave us a comment in the chats and let us know what you liked or what you didn't like. If you have any suggestions as well too, like I always say for future episodes, we'll always be checking back the chats later. So let us know what you want to hear and other ways we can share tips to optimize your business. I do believe next week we're going to be chatting about ways to increase your average order value. So that's a really great topic for those of you who have been getting a little bit of sales, just to increase the value of those orders and get customers to add a little bit more. So yeah, we're super excited, and yeah, we will see you all next week. So join us Monday, same time every week. And thank you again. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.